Bionano closed the day at $5.82, which is exactly what we needed to close above. We needed to close above the 21 SMA or middle Bollinger Band on the daily at 582. That's literally where we closed. After hours, we're down a little bit, and the fear index is spiking after hours. SPY and the Russell 2000 futures pre-market, or after hours, I should say, very, very bearish. So it's something to keep in mind that even though Bionano in the high growth sector has outperformed the market an insane amount, the last 4 trading days, there may be a micro correction. So that's something to keep in mind. Now, am I trading it based on that? Now you can fast forward to use the YouTube chatters to see how I'm trading it, but I want to give you both sides of the argument. I want to show you some important indicators. I want to look at the SAR and the Supertrend on the daily here. We need to break out about 640, 620 to get the daily flip. Now, the daily is great. We love the Supertrend, but the problem with these signals is that they often give you signals too late. For example, they give you a buy signal right here with the Supertrend, right? When it flips green, that's your buy signal right on that candle, right on that day. If you would have bought there, you would have held until you got the sell signal, which was during, at best $5, and now you missed the run up almost to $6. So the 4 hour, the daily can be a little skewed as far as the parabolic SAR stop and reverse indicator along with the Supertrend. Link in the card on the top right explaining these indicators in detail. But if we look at the 4 hourly SAR and Supertrend here, these indicators are much more time sensitive, much more reactive to what the price action has been doing. And it takes into account more short-term movements. Obviously, it's the 4 hourly. It's pretty stable explanatory. Anyways, last 2 days, we got the bullish flip on the 4 hourly SAR and Supertrend. And obviously, this indicator, I always throw around 25%, less than 25% of the time, this indicator is false. It is right 75%-ish of the time in my anecdotal experience, and it has been right so far. We will see if it continues. Typically, the more you go on, the more you have one indicator run, the more likely it is to get the flip, right? I mean, it's the same thing with the RSI, right? If we look at the red, if we look in the red here, the more likely you go on, the more likely you are to get the flip, essentially, because you can't go on forever. You can't be bullish forever or bearish forever. So based on these two indicators, I would say that we're in bullish territory short term based on the 4 hourly, and on the daily, we still need to break above what is it exactly, 624 and 641 to actually get those flips on the daily. So that's going to be something we're going to be watching very closely in these next few days. I want to look at the relative strength index as well on the daily. We're looking at 47 on the relative strength index. We're basically neutral. We're closer to being oversold slightly as opposed to being overbought, which means and indicates to me at least that we have we have much more upside left to go, but we also have plenty of downside too. This does not necessarily mean that it's more likely that we're going to go green. Actually, it kind of does, it does actually. When the closer you are to being at 30, the higher chances you are of going green, the higher you are. And if you're at 70, higher chance of going down, right? So yes, but at the same time, it's like, well, we're basically neutral. We're basically in no man's land, right? It's basically a 50-50 flip based on the RSI, but that's something that I want you to know. Also looking at the MACD on the daily, we got that bullish crossover, the signal line cross below that represents bullish momentum macroscopically, but similarly to the Supertrend on the daily, especially the MACD on the daily and the Supertrend on the daily, nearly the exact same. Like we can see they crossed and they both flipped exactly the same time here, basically. They almost flipped the same time here. And these indicators, I mean, as I already went over, I'm sure you can guess at this point, it's not reactive short term. So macroscopically, bullish territory. It's great to see, but we will see if it comes to fruition. Last time we got this flip, we got we went all the way up to 787. Right now we are only at 582. So that one historical data point would indicate we have some room left, but that's not something that I'm worried about whatsoever or taking into consideration really whatsoever. But it's something to note, right? Also, looking at the daily moving averages, one thing that I really like about Bionano stock price action here is that we've shown a lot of strength and we pushed right back over the 200-day exponential moving average. Card on the top right explaining how to use these moving averages. Now we do still have both golden crosses. The two most important golden crosses to me. You can, okay, this is up to opinion, up to debate whether you want to take this or that one or this, whatever. There's 1,000 different indicators, 1,000 different moving averages. To me, the 200-day EMA and the 15 and the 200 and the 55. Those are the two most important golden crosses, and we have both of them. Basically, ape language, red is below the orange and red is below the teal. That means, and you can see the key here for the different lengths for the colors. Both golden crosses are still intact, and also I love the fact that we've risen and broke above the 200-day EMA again. Typically, it does act as a bit of a resistance level and support. Not very cleanly though. Typically, not very cleanly. You see that in a lot of stocks that they will just neglect it as a resistance or support sometimes, and other times it'll get a perfect balance like Bitcoin did. Like this stock doesn't have a great example, but plenty of times it does. Talking a little bit about the volume, if we look down here, actually I'm going to pull up the actual volume tab here. Our volume has literally, I think it's exactly halved. Okay, so 45 million down to 22 million. Oh my gosh. Okay, so volume has almost every single day. It is literally halved every single day. Basically, almost exactly since for the third consecutive day in a row. Now, this is the third day that our volume has halved, and we are still pushing up. And of course, we've got green volume, and we've got 1,000 catalysts that we talk about in many videos to justify this. However, the volume is going to have to pick up if we're going to keep this pace. It has to pick up. The interest has to pick up in the stock price, or the volume. Something has to happen for us to keep this pace. And of course, the true value of this stock is way up there. A catalyst can drop at any point, or high growth could get a correction that I think will happen eventually. It's inevitable. There's always going to be a correction, and there's always cycles the markets go through. Oh, we like high growth now, we like recovering now, we like whatever the hell it wants that spontaneous. I also wanted to talk a little bit about the macroscopic chart pattern, right? We kind of have, I mean, this is very speculative. A lot of people are throwing this around like it's very surefire, and it is not, in my book at least. This is the cup and handle potentially that we're talking about. This is something that we're going to want to watch, and it certainly could happen. I think it will happen. You know what? I think the cup and handle, with a big-ass cup and handle, with the peak at 1569 and the low at 430, I think it will happen if the NASDAQ breaks above and confirms the breakout above all-time highs, previous current all-time highs, right? 14,211, I believe that's the NASDAQ's all-time high. And if not even the NASDAQ necessarily, if the markets go to all-time highs, continue the bull run, Bionano will follow. I really believe once people start actually looking at this company and get interested again, because it's getting tendies and it's not going to zero, they're going to realize that there's a real opportunity here, I think. So that's one little synthesis about this cup and handle. Potentially not really something to call out and bet on right now, I would say. I'm not invested in the company because of the big-ass cup and handle, I'll tell you that much. But looking at the microscopic time frames, we don't really have, this is something that I mentioned in the live streams, right? If I go here, let me go to the, I guess we'll do 30 minute. You know what? If we draw up a trend line, there have been a lot of people throwing out the term ascending wedge. There is somewhat of an ascending wedge here, but the top trend line is really not that clear where it's at. Like it's really hard to say where it's, so I'm just going to leave it right here, because there's way too many false breakouts in my mind to get it exactly right. Maybe something like that is what we're looking at. And if we extend those out, basically the ascending wedge is not always, and it's the ascending wedge is one of my least favorite chart patterns because it's just so damn misleading, because nearly every uptrend, or at least a lot of uptrends, are ascending wedges, which are technically conventionally defined, at least to my knowledge, in my book, right? Technical analysis nowadays, it's like there's so many different. The real world is so much different than your definitions in chart patterns. But this is typically defined as a bearish pattern in my book, and we are going to break to the downside. But here's the thing: the price target, even if this is an ascending wedge, the price target to the downside is only 560. So I'll take that. I'll take a 626 run just for the interest in the volume, and then a retracement down here, and then we start forming higher highs and higher lows after we get that bounce off whatever level it's going to be. If it's going to be 550 or even 530 again, okay, or even 4. I'll load up on 4. That's my philosophy. If we go down to 4, I'm going to make this 100% of my portfolio. Literally. Talking a little bit about the level 2 data here, there was a lot of fighting going on between the bulls and bears. I mean, there always is in the level 2 data, but the bears have had an advantage as far as the level 2 data, and this is normal. And I just wanted to say that just because the bears are doubling the amount of shares to be sold, as the level 2 data would indicate if they didn't cancel them and if there was no manipulation or fake walls, It's not necessarily bearish, actually, because when you're going up, the bears are going to want to sell more, and when you're going down, the bulls are going to want to buy more. So I just wanted to bring that up. Most people know that at this point, but that's something that I would say is important. As for levels to load up on and an in-depth actual look through at what I'm doing with my own portfolio, that is good. You can find that in the live stream tomorrow, which I'm going to put in a card in the top right now for you, set a reminder for that. I will be we do live trading on the streams of the market open, and I cover the market open. If we're going to gap down or gap up, we're going to get delisted. If we're going to moon, whatever the hell happens, and it's a very fun time, so I will put that there. And then with that, current positions, those are the price targets. I'm going to do this really quickly today. Take a screenshot or pause it right now to see all of my current positions. There you go. So I show my portfolio every time for honesty and transparency reasons. Relevant information in regards to the trial as furnished now. At what price should I shave the beard? All right, I did not even update this. I was going to update this. I forgot. Anyways, yeah, this is not financial advice, man. Thank y'all so much. I'll see y'all in the next one.